Good Tuesday afternoon, everyone. I hope this day finds you doing well. Before you come in the chat, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope everyone is doing well. I know it's kind of hot all around the United States, and hopefully, you're all staying cool. This is typical southern Indiana weather, so we need to keep people in our prayers that last week went through some tornadoes, went through their area in other states, and there was a lot of devastation. And this time of the year, because of the intense heat, and when a cold front comes through, there's always a storm. So let's keep those people in our prayers from these different states that suffered loss. And there's Lenore, welcome in. We know there's been a lot of flooding and a lot of things like that. So this is a bad time of the year for storms, period. So let's keep those people in our prayers, and they're all around the United States. And so it's summertime, and with summertime brings storms. Yes, Lenore, I think we need to pray for everyone in the world right now because the way things are going, that it seems that there's so many things going on, but a lot of those things are coming straight from Revelations. It's already been foretold. And we can kind of see that unfolding, maybe not within our world, with ourselves, but with others. And it's a good thing that, yes, the world does need to be prayed for, and that is a good point, Lenore. They really do. I know we're seeing a lot, and it's already been uh, foretold in Revelations. It's all coming to fruition. So, like the Bible says, no one knows the time or the hour, but you must remain steadfast and ready for that. Guys, I really believe that, with everything that goes on in the world and the sadness and the suffering, I think God is giving people time to repent of what they're doing before it's too late. And I really, truly believe that. You know, each day is an absolute blessing, and it's a gift from God. Every day that we receive, of course, sometimes the days are not without problems, but God gives us the direction to be able to handle these things as they come our way. But, I'm this kind of thinker. I'm always thinking things that, after you get a blessing and you realize that blessing, but God sends you the inclination, and you're able to set forth that path of how God blessed you. And a good example of that is what I had been going through the last 4 months. I told my husband it feels strange that it was for several months, but after everything calmed down, I never really, it seemed like it just happened. You know what I mean? Like it was an occurrence, and, something that if someone told me over a year ago that I would be experiencing these things, I would say, oh no, not me. But you know what, guys? If the world brings you to it, God will bring you through it. And I know He was with me. There were many times where the work seemed overwhelming, but I kept going because I did pray about it, and I know it was God. And sometimes when we go through those rough patches, guys, and it seems like it's an eternity, and when God impresses His love upon you, it's going to seem like it's it was just an occurrence and it's done. You're not focusing on everything that happened because God brought you through it. And that's how God works, guys. You may be going through something and it seems like an eternity, but when God delivers you out of that, it's so hard to describe. It just seemed like, yes, Lenore, sometimes, we have to pray some daily, on the hour, every hour because of the way things are going. But, God does not set a challenge before us without helping us with that. And sometimes the challenges can be overwhelming and we just feel like giving up. But God, and I know this for a fact, and I can testify to it, that God gives you the strength to get through whatever you need to get through. And there's always lessons in that. And after it's over, you're like, gee, I didn't know I had that in me. Well, you had it in you because God put it there, and you do experience some people that are extremely strong people. I think, when it comes to situations, people handle things differently, and that's what makes us all individuals and unique because that's how God intended us to be. He didn't make a carbon copy. It's sad that even sharing the Lord is offensive to some people, but I'm going to continue. Yes, it's offensive, Lenore, because people don't want to change, and to become closer to God, you have to. You have to change and be willing to have humility because through humility comes endurance and strength. And you're like, how's that come from that? Because you are acknowledging that you are only human and you have human weaknesses and frailties. And it brings clarity to exactly who we are and what God intends us to be. It really is. And yes, I'm sure that our parents and grandparents, even great grandparents back in the day, never felt like that it would come to this. But I knew it, that I keep my humbleness standing out. Yes, because through humbleness promotes clarity and keeps you from making the same mistake twice. And it really does. And I think that, humbleness and humility is not a bad thing. Because when you're willing to cut that pride thing out of the equation, that's when it really wakes you up. And to be humble and thankful for things, even though a lot of things are going wrong, but you can still be thankful for those things that went right. So we're going to go ahead and get started in Psalm 27, a Psalm of David. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Oh, by the way, you're thinking, why did she put the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want? Well, there's a reason behind that. And as we read through Psalm 27, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because God does provide, and this psalm is the epitome of the Lord is my shepherd. And that's why I kind of reverted back to the 23rd Psalm because of the verbiage in this psalm. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and foes, they stumbled and fell. Although my army may encamp me against, my heart shall not fear. Through my war may rise against me, and this I will be confident. Now, see what I'm talking about? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Because this is a good commentary on how the Lord protects us, He holds us up. And that's where that came from, guys. It just was very obvious to me that, it's basically the psalmist expressing complete trust and confidence in God that as a source of guidance and deliverance by referring to the Lord as my light and salvation. So the imagery of light and salvation is significant. Life symbolizes illumination, clarity, and divine presence, just like humility does. Like we see in John 8:12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And this verse echoes the sentiment expressed in Psalm 27 about highlighting the importance of God's light and discipline in our life and providing that guidance for us as we go along. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle he shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. So, as we know, in biblical times, shepherds were to guard the flock. And in essence, we are God's flock. And he does protect us from things that could hurt us. So therefore, that's why he is referred to as the great shepherd and the rock of all ages. And see, that's how I connect things. I was reading this and I was like, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I mean, that it just was like a blinding light in my mind that really kind of, I think sometimes we are inspired by God. And I think that as I read through this, I could see what it was saying and what exactly, what it meant. And now my head shall be lifted up above my enemies all around me. Therefore I will offer sacrifices of joy in his tabernacle. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to the Lord. So this one right here, therefore I will offer sacrifices of joy in his tabernacle. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to the Lord. And this is exactly what should happen after that we are brought through those storms that we face in life, and come to him with great joy, thanking him for everything. And even the lessons, even though those lessons were hard, that we learned along the way, that absolutely, I always said that a blessings like this, a blessing is what you've done after you've done the right thing. And I think a lot of times it sets you up to let you know that, no matter what you're going through, that God is there with you. He promises never to leave you. And it does. It helps us. It fortifies our strength. Welcome in, Minnie. I hope you're doing well. And it sounds like Minnie is resting, which is good for a person. I sometimes take periodic naps myself. And I hope you're doing well, Minnie. It's good to see you. But I really believe that we live in a world where things, they go wrong all the time. And when we are lifted up because of a blessing, it just lets us know that, even though the going is tough, that sometimes we survive things and we come out on the other side. And that's a blessing right there, that God was able to maintain our clarity and our strength. He gives us strength. And I know that for a fact. And sometimes we can be pretty negative and think that we can't. All things are possible through God, guys. It really is. All things are possible. And once we acknowledge that, only then can we really be thankful for that blessing that, he does all things well, and he sometimes his timing is different from ours. And things that go on today and the way we feel is no different from what was felt back in biblical times. And there was a lot less, what shall I say, niceties and conveniences back then, like there are today. So it's really, sometimes we just have to be still, like it says, be still and know I am God. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy upon me and answer me. When you said, seek my face, my heart said to you, your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my help. Do not leave me or forsake me, O God of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsake me, when the Lord will take care of me. Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me into a smooth path because of my enemies. Now we know that anytime that we're dealing with enemies, just like Lenore said in the beginning of the chat, that some people rise up against us because of solely because of who we believe in. But the Constitution says we all have rights. And, it's really sad that people will judge us because of who we believe in, but they will. Some people believe in luck, chance, and whatever, and the problem is when God is left out of something totally, that's where the problems come in, really, if you think about it. That's where we fail. We just totally messed things up because we did not invite God through prayer into our lives to help us with things when we know that He promised never to leave us. And I think that's where the problem comes in, guys, when, like we spoke of humbleness. Humbleness is not a weakness. I want you to know that now. Humbleness is the ability to come down on the level where we belong, and we know God is of the Most High. And sometimes being humble, and if you do not have humility, then pride comes in, and pride is one of the worst things that comes between people. It keeps people at each other's throats. No one will admit they're wrong and things like that. But if you inject that humility into your life and some of us think we're right all the time, but we're not. No one is ever right all the time. And especially if a person takes it to the point of being right where it hurts another person, that's where those problems come in. Do not deliver me to the will of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of false witnesses in the world that act as though that they are godly when they are a wolf's in sheep's clothing. And we really got to watch for that, because these kind of people will take the Bible, they will take away or add to, and we know that warning, do not take away or add to this word. And they'll do it, and to the point where they gain your confidence, and then they start doing other things that may cause you to fall away from God. That's what Satan wants. He wants us to fall away from God, and then we become his prey then. It's like an open invitation, so we have to really be careful. Thank you for the hearts, and read up in the Bible. And, you can take anybody's word for it, but read it yourself. God has given us all intelligence, and, read it for yourself. It's right there in the Bible. And when you read the Bible, that wisdom comes out, when you see things. And you might read a passage in the Bible and get one thing out of it, and then you go back again and it'll be something totally different. But it's really amazing how that does happen, guys. And such as breathe out violence, I would have lost heart unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. It's hard to be as Jesus wants us to be. I just say I trust him and I will do as he wants me to do, even in some words are so harsh said to us. Yes, Minnie, it's really hard because, sometimes people say things out of anger, and anger is not a good thing because it will cause you to sin. And we have to remember, guys, and some of the things that people say is not even the truth. And we have to realize, guys, that when the devil is in the life of another person, he will pull out all the stops to hurt you and shake your faith. And it's, we have to hold strong to that, even in the days that we feel defeated, guys, because God is real, and he is here, and he really is. And we have to learn to let go and let God. I'm sure you've heard that phrase, and it's hard, guys, because a lot of times we overthink things and we think of scenarios that possibly would never happen, instead of letting it go and just giving it to God and say, here it is, you know what it is, and I trust you totally, and I'm giving it to you because you have all the answers. And sometimes it's better to walk away than to confront. Sometimes it really is. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, O Lord. We do have to wait on the Lord, and to be of good courage. And that's what Minnie just described in her paragraph there, that it's hard to be as Jesus wants us to be, because there are obstacles and people that want to see us fail, and Satan is one of them. And it's really true. And it's really good to, we have to wait on him because he has all the answers, and we cannot be impatient. And sometimes waiting, it seems like a long time, but once we wait and that blessing comes in, just like I was saying earlier, the thing that I had went through was for 4 months, but I told my husband it just seemed like it was an experience and it was gone. And I didn't go back and dwell on things that I really shouldn't have, because when God puts the exclamation point on the end, that's what he means. But I think God did put that into my heart, that he goes, hey, I know what you went through, and I'm going to put you in a different state of mind. And he absolutely did. And that's, he really, sometimes you say, oh my goodness, and you just have to keep going, even though it may be hard. But normally when you do your best and try your hardest is when those blessings come in, guys. It really does. So Psalm 28, a psalm of David. To you I will cry, O Lord, my rock. Do not be silent to me, lest if you are silent to me, I will become like those who go down in the pit. And we know where the pit is. Hear the voice of my supplications when I cry to you, when I lift up my hands toward your holy sanctuary. Do not take me away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity who speak peace to their neighbors, but evil in their hearts. Give them according to their deeds and according to the wickedness of their endeavors. Give them according to the work of their hands. Render to them what they deserve, because they do not regard the works of the Lord nor the operation of his hands. He shall destroy them and not build them up. Blessed be the Lord, because he has heard the voice of my supplications. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusts in him, and I am helped. Therefore my heart greatly rejoices, and with my song I will praise him. The Lord is their strength, and he is the saving refuge of his anointed. Save your people and bless your inheritance. Shepherd them also and bear them up forever. So that's why I put, you know, I shall not want in the title of this live, because God, in the beginning of the psalm, David proclaims that the things that has been done for him, and how he is his salvation and light. And where there is light, there will be no darkness, because where there is light, there is God. And he, like any good shepherd, he knows about his flock, and we are his flock. And it just made total sense to me about the shepherd part. So, Psalm 29. Give unto the Lord, O you mighty ones, give unto the Lord glory and strength. Give unto the Lord the glory due to his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. The Lord is over many waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaks the cedars. Yes, the Lord splinters the cedars of Lebanon. He makes them also skip like a calf, Lebanon and Syram like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord divides the flames of the fire. The voice of the Lord makes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord makes the deer give birth, and strips the forest bare. And in his temple everyone says, Glory. The Lord shall enthrone at the flood, and the Lord sits as king forever. The Lord will give strength to his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. And in today's time, sometimes peace is not often there, in our lives sometimes. And we can see the unrest all around the world. Like it says in Revelations, there will be wars and rumors of wars. And it's without a doubt that we do live in troubled times. And God is the light that we cling to in these times of uncertainty, because we just don't know what's going to happen day to day. And we just have to hold on to the promise of God that he is with us. And even though the times are hard and we may face many, many adversities, that he is always there, and he's always given us strength. But guys, we have to really acknowledge when God brings us out of something, it is so important to realize that it wasn't luck, it wasn't a coincidence, it was God, because that we lifted ourselves in prayer up to God with humility. Because, God he is all powerful, and we are but mere mortals, and we are destined to sin and everything like that. But you have to really isn't it funny, guys, how you go through something and you come out on the other side and you're thinking about it, and because of every all the things that you went through, your judgment's a little bit clouded. Hello, Alfonso. Yes, it is a blessed day, even though it's a little warm. But and so many things occurs after you're thinking about it, and God puts these things in your mind that, hey, I was with you, and I want you to not dwell on these things and move on, because I have made a way where there is no way. And it's good to see you, Alfonso, and really be thankful for that. And so many times we can't see the forest for the trees, but yeah, it's and sometimes God, we replay things in our mind, and sometimes God puts those there to show us that His divine guidance was there. And He it expands our minds and He lets us think about His presence there, and each mile each milestone that we get through is just one more. Uh, it should make us have even greater faith when the next thing comes around, and it will. We do live in a world that sometimes it's hard to live in, but God did not create this earth like this in the beginning. He created beautiful things and things like that, but he did create human beings, and when sometimes human beings, they err, they're not perfect, and things do happen, and God knew that, and that's why He sent His Son to the cross, so that we would have a chance to be lifted up at the end of time, like I said, life is uncertain and it's full of unforeseen things, and to know that God is absolutely our shepherd and that we should not want, which we shouldn't, because He provides for all our needs, those important needs, those needs that stop us from moving forward in our lives and staying in the past where we shouldn't be, and not looking forward to the future that He so richly gives us as part of His. One day, guys, we'll be part of that heavenly kingdom, and all the pain and the sorrow and the hurt will be gone. There is no room in heaven for those things, because it was created perfect for us. And however, we're not perfect, and that's why God is absolutely our shepherd and has to lead us through things and storms, because after all, we are human beings and we are destined to mess up. I don't care how if someone out there is saying they're perfect, they're wrong. Perfection is on the other side. No one is perfect. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. But I tell you what, when you're in your times of trouble, God knows your strengths, and He will work with those to bring you out on the other side. And God does not point out your weakness. He points out your strengths, because in fact, He is where those came from, and He uses the best of each and every one of you out there to get you through whatever you're going through. And isn't it great to know that sometimes when we don't even recognize our own strengths, that God does, and how He uses those to bless us and get us through the troubled times that we experience. And sometimes we feel overwhelmed with everything going on around us, and we just have to focus on God Himself, because there's all kinds of things going on around us, and it's easy to get distracted from those. We just have to keep our eyes on that forward thing, the thing that we know that's good, the thing that we know that's right, and the thing that we know that's just. And we all, I think, when we go through something, it strengthens not only our will but our hearts to know that we don't walk alone. God is with us, and He gives us strength when we need it. And sometimes when we think we plan things and we think it's going to go this way, but it goes another way, it's because God has the plan and everything happens in His time. Psalm 31, for the chief musician, a psalm of David. In you, O Lord, I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in your righteousness. Now, here's another thing. This is what happens to us as Christian people. And we should never be ashamed of who God is, but people will shame us over that. And I'm sure that you guys know what I'm talking about. And we won't speak up. We won't take up. We say nothing in the defense of a brother or sister. And I'm not saying be mean or whatever, but we are ashamed, of who God is, and there's no reason to be ashamed, but because of society puts that pressure on us, and they believe in the here and now, and that it will happen. We will be shamed because of who we believe in, but no one should ever be ashamed of the glory of God. We should be, instead of being ashamed, we should really feel more drawn to speak of God to other people, because that's who God works through, is other people. But sometimes, never, or like I said, our grandparents and our parents, do we ever think there was a time that the Bible was and God was a subject that was closed, that no one ever spoke about? Because, for one thing, they probably never read the Bible, but they were embarrassed to mention it because they had people around them that didn't believe. Well, if you believe in God, no one should shake your foundation ever. It's that belief, and to know who you believe in, and bow down your ear to me, deliver me speedily. Be my rock of refuge, a fortress of defense to save me. For you are my rock and my fortress. Therefore, your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Pull me out of the net which they have secretly laid for me. For you are my strength. Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord of truth. I have hated those who regard useless idols, but I trust in the Lord. I will be glad and rejoice in your mercy, for you have considered my trouble. You have known my soul in adversities, and have not shut me up into the hand of the enemy. You have set my feet in a wide place. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I am in trouble. My eyes waste away with grief. Yes, my soul and my body, for my life is spent with grief, and my years with sighing. My strength fails because of my iniquity, and my bones waste away. I am a reproach among all my enemies, but especially among my neighbors, and am repulsive to my acquaintances. Who see me out, who Those who see me flee from me. I am forgotten like a dead man out of mind. I am like a broken vessel, for I hear the slander of many. Fear is on the side while they take counsel together against me. They scheme to take away my life. But as for me, I trust in you, O Lord. And that's maybe we may not go through some of the things that David ex- had mentioned in this passage, but it's there, and sometimes, guys, what I just read will happen to people that believe in God, and they are shunned because of it, and it happens, and they may not take a person's life over it, but we should never be ashamed of our Creator. And if people don't, some people will not understand that, because a lot of people don't believe in things they cannot see. Well, it's that's the way we are as human beings. But as Christians, we know better, because we know about the times that we were blessed, and we know where those came from. We absolutely know where those came from. But God knew that the world would end up this way, where people doubt, and they scheme, and they plot, and they make fun of. He knew that was going to happen. And that's why that God sent his son to suffer the punishment that we deserve for. He took upon all the sins of the world. And after his resurrection, we could all feel justified in praying to the God we know is real, and his son that we know that sits at the right hand of the Father. My times are in your hand. Deliver me from the hand of my enemies and from those who persecute me. And that's what's going on today. People persecute because of what what we believe in. Make your face shine upon your servant. Save me for your mercy's sake. Do not let me be ashamed, O Lord, for I have called upon you. Let the wicked be ashamed. Let them be silent in the grave. Let the lying lips be put to silence, which speaks insolent things proudly and contemptuously against the righteous. Oh, how great is your goodness, which you have laid up for those who fear you, which you have prepared for those who trust in you in the presence of the sons of men. You shall hide them in the secret place of your presence from the plots of man. You shall keep them secretly in a pavilion from the strife of tongues. Blessed be the Lord, for he has shown me his marvelous kindness in a strong city. For I have said in my haste, I am cut off from before your eyes. Nevertheless, you heard the voice of my supplications, which I cried out to you. O love the Lord, all you his saints, for the Lord preserves the faithful and fully repays the proud person. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, and you will hope in the Lord. And he does strengthen us. And we have to realize that he is the one that gives us strength, and he knows everything about us, and through our supplication and prayers to him, he knows if we're sincere, if we're just, he knows our motive. And, we may not know the motive of someone else, but we know God's motive to bless and enrich our lives through his mercy and love for us. But sometimes, but I think we do need, even in our times of trouble, and we go through things and we think that it's impossible, and then we come out on the other side, and we can kind of look back and see the times that the Lord came in when we were weak and weary, and lifted us up and set us upon that right path. and gave us that strength to get us through what we had to get through. Like I said, if God brings you to it, He's going to bring you through it. And that's absolutely true, because He does not forsake His children. He does not. There may be some, you know, people that may forsake people on this earth, because people, as people, we do have a choice. And sometimes we're hurt deeply by people who choose to walk away from us, and we don't understand that what happened. And sometimes it's because of who we believe in that they walk away. Because, for one thing, guys, we're not willing to get on that level where we sin and fall short of the glory of God. And people don't understand that. Why? Hey, Tanya, welcome in. Why is that person not like me? Because misery loves company, basically. And you're not like them because you chose to walk in the light of the Lord instead of darkness, where anything can happen, guys, and it will, you know. Okay, Lenore, do you have a question? I see some of those weird symbols I guess that's a YouTube thing. So, yeah, sometimes we feel like, you know, it takes a stronger person to not run with the crowd than it does to run with the crowd doing something wrong. And let me tell you something. Oh, no, it was when I said Tanya's name. Oh, okay. But it really does. And sometimes we stand alone in what we're doing something right. And then sometimes there is a time where God sends that person to you, and they're able to help you through things and help you see things in a different light and just really bless your life because they're there. And God doesn't make mistakes at all. And He does put people in our lives that enrich it instead of, hey, Roberta, welcome in, sweetie, that will enrich our lives and not tear it down and make turmoil out of it. And it just seems it's so soothing to the soul. Good to see you, Roberta. Thank you for coming in. It's so soothing to your soul to know that at that one point where you felt so alone and you felt like everybody was against you, and then God sent that person into your life and gave you clarity and made you see things in a whole different light. And that is definitely a blessing when that comes along. It really is. It is definitely a blessing, and I'm sure we've all experienced that. Oh, and thank you, Roberta. And God does that. He knows that we will be on this earth where with people that are just, I don't know, they want to uh, mess up other people's lives and focus on causing heartbreak to other people because the problem is with them. And when you're pointing three fingers, when you're pointing a finger, there's at least three pointing back at you, right? So there are such people, but when God sends that person into your life, that is a breath of fresh air, and it just seems like you can just really, you really mesh with one another. And hello, Yvonne, welcome in, sweetheart. You really mesh with one another, and it's just, one compensates for the knowledge or the ability the other one doesn't have, and it just makes a great team, right? But yeah, it's wonderful what God does and how He can be how he, ouch, how he can be a part of your life, but he will, unless, hey, Tracy, welcome in, but he will never be a part of your life if you do not allow him in. He's there. He does not push his will upon anyone. That's not who he is, because God, when he wants to know that you love him with zero conditions. How many times have we experienced people that say they love you, but underneath that there's conditions to it? We've all experienced that, and it's really hard to, and once we figure it out, it's terrible. But a true friend loves always. There's no conditions, there's no stipulations. They're not taking away who you are, they're letting you be yourself. You don't feel uncomfortable around them, and it's just perfect. And God absolutely gives us the desires of our hearts. If you think about it, sometimes we pray for things that God feels we don't need at the time, because He knows every step in our lives and everything that's going to happen along the way. And, are we, and something else He looks for, are we coming to Him just in our times of troubles and not giving Him the praises daily He so obviously deserves? We have to give prayer and thanks for everything, even those little things. And that's our connection to God Himself. And, God doesn't want you, it's kind of like a two-way radio, and the batteries is missing from the other one, and no one can hear anything. And that, the God wants that direct communication, to know that, number one, you have faith and trust in Him, and you believe that He does save people. You believe that He sits at the right hand of Father in heaven, and that there are days that we're, like I said, we're put with people that do not believe, and sometimes they make us out to be different, or another, other unkind terms, because of what we believe in. But you have to believe in God Himself, because He is our our refuge in times of trouble, and things like that. The times where we think that everything is lost, and we go to Him in prayer, and He shows us the way. He really does, whether we realize it or not. When we pray to Him and tell Him everything, and it seems like we're exhausted, but He does lead the way through everything. And He definitely picks us up when we're weak and weary. And sometimes He says, now slow down. You're going too fast here, and you're only human. And we can find rest in Him, and His love, and His compassion, and His grace that He has for all of us. But we have to keep that line of communication. And thank you, Lenore, for dropping that. I appreciate it. We have to keep that line of communication open. And like it says, if you deny me before man, I will deny you before my Father in heaven. And that's something we don't want. I was thinking back to the very beginning of my experience, and a lot of you know the story about it. And there was a lady that, I think everything happens for a reason. And there was a lady that came up to me and asked me a question, and that set a lot of things in motion, and a lot of things that needed to be done. And you know what, guys? I didn't know anything about it. And you know what? I felt like since I was blessed, there were ups and downs, curves, and whatever. But everything happens for a reason. And I believe that the next time I see this lady, I am going to reward her for that because I think it's the right thing to do. I think I've already lost my salvation since I haven't gone to church in so many years. Jesus will deny me in front of the Father. Alfonso, it's never too late. I mean, sometimes it's hard to find a church, but that doesn't mean that your prayers are not heard. I mean, sometimes there's churches that seem to be one thing and they're another. And, just, a church is a good thing to go to, but it does not limit your communication with God Himself. And I'm not saying not to go to church, but, we all need to find a church that we're comfortable in, and, no, it's if you have any questions, Alfonso, just ask the Lord Himself, and I guarantee you, He will show you. He's going to show you the way. And I think a lot of churches have become almost like a business. I mean, you do need funds to keep the lights and electricity on. And, I think music is nice in a church, but do you have to have drums and a guitar? Isn't the piano and the organ good enough? And I think it's good to, praise the Lord in song, but I think people overdo it. It should not be about, how should I put that? It should be about the Lord and not about how good you look when you're playing the drums or whatever. I mean, worship is worship, but sometimes worship can go into things that is bought by a church that I feel that is not necessary. I'm not judging now, but I'm a little old fashioned. I don't know, but it's good to have these instruments, but when it's done for spectacle instead of praise, that's where the problem comes in. It's not, it's the church is a house of praise, not someone's ego playing the most important thing. Alfonso's right. That's right. That's right, Tracy. I feel today church music sounds too much more like heavy metal, and they call that rock concerts. It's not like the old way it used to be, and that's true. And it's to me, I might be old fashioned, but a piano and an organ is plenty. But when they're showboating, right? When people are showboating up there, oh look at me. It's not about them. It's about God. And you can do the same thing on a piano or an organ. But a lot of times they call that new age churches where they have where it sounds like heavy metal rock and things like that. And there's, music should be relaxing, not hearing a shrieking sound and everything like that. But yeah, I think that, it's, I think it's really unnecessary because they're getting away from who the song should be praising and not someone saying, "Ooh, look at me, I'm playing this instrument." Well, some things are just not necessary. I don't think that would be pleasing in the eyes of the Lord anyway, because but they call those new age churches, and I know some of you have probably heard about those, and that's what they call them, where they have I'm not against music, don't get me wrong. I love music just like everybody else, but there's a time and a place for these, stuff like that. But when the music is louder than the people singing and you can't hear the people singing, that's where the problem comes in. So, anyway, I'm old school. True silence is golden. The time we speak to him and we listen. Right. Sometimes silence is golden because it gives us time to think and reevaluate things. But yeah, when your praise music is louder than the people singing, that's where the problem comes in, because the songs in the hymnals are praises to God, and it should be acknowledged. Music should enhance the voices of other people, not drown them out, or that's what I think. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Thank you guys for being here, and I really appreciate you. Let's keep those peoples in our prayers. And like Lenore said, people around the world, that the things are going on, they're experiencing floods and storms and things like that. And there's other people in the YouTube community that need prayer as well. And let's keep Minnie in our prayers, and Mia of Crazy May Stash. Uh, Dan, Dan is another one. Mellie's jewelry box, her sister has cancer, and just things like that. And there are people in the community that do need prayer, and prayer is an outreach. It lets people know that they do not that they're not alone. And I think a lot of times, guys, hey Doug, welcome in, when we pray for other people, I think they feel that, especially when it's in unison with other people. And like it says, where one or more are gathered, he is there. And I really believe that. And that's how God works. He is the master of everything. He is the creator. He is the author. He is everything. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you so humbly today, thanking you for those blessings that we received. And Lord, when we get to the point where we're not praying like we should, give us a nudge, Lord, because sometimes our days get so busy and we forget to reach out to you, Lord, the one that can really help us. Lord, be with those that we mentioned in the chat that are not doing well. Lift them up and show them the light that emits from your very heart. And thank you for the people in the chat. What a blessing they are. And when we come together like this, it's just a blessing to me and my heart. And it really helps a lot of people to hear the word from the Bible. It really does, because it gives them hope, peace, and to know that whatever they're going through, that they can come to you and pray to you, and you are listening to every word. Be with us, Lord, during the week. Bless the ones in the chat and the other people that may be watching, and even people around the world. We could all use a blessing these days through the things that we go through. It is all that I pray in your precious, precious name. Amen. And thank you guys for being here. The heat, I'm going to have to check that air conditioner. The filter might need to be cleaned out up here, but it's been great seeing you guys. You're always a blessing to me. And if you feel so compelled, share this out. It might be the very thing that someone needs to hear that they're going through something and they've given up and they need hope. And this is definitely, Psalms is definitely, prayers of hope and light, that no matter what we're going through, that God's always there. He's aware of our trials and tribulations. He wants us to reach out to Him so that He can bless us and give us grace for the next thing we go through. I love you guys. I'll see you next Tuesday. Take care, stay cool, and have a blessed week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.